After a turbulent last 3 years for Marvel, it seems they are finally gaining back a sense of confidence, following their billion-dollar smash hit with Deadpool, then a great reaction to the Daredevil trailer, and now they are going all in on Fantastic Four, doing all sorts of extra marketing and events for this movie to an extent that we've never quite seen before from Marvel, as they know that this is their big opportunity if successful to win back the hearts of many Marvel fans. However, it is still a big risk, because if this movie fails, well then all hope is lost for the MCU, at least for a while, because fans would just be sick and tired of the inconsistency. But it's in this resurgence of the MCU that we see exactly where they went wrong in the last 4 years, as we see their biggest flaw, which was that they forgot the whole point of superhero movies. Because the reason Marvel is so confident right now about Fantastic Four is because it's a movie that is giving back to the fan base in a fun and engaging way, which following the success of Deadpool they now realize is the best way to make a superhero movie.
It was really genuinely meant to be a true one-off, and something that really allows life is hard for a lot of people out there, and it's been that way for a long time, and just for people to walk out of that movie theater feeling like they just had the best 2 hours of their entire life, something that is unexpectedly moving, but still retains all of that audacity and sort of wild subversion that you come to expect with this character in this world.
And so what this tells me is that at some point down the line a few years ago, Marvel forgot what industry they were in. They forgot that the entertainment industry is not some socio-political think tank, it's not a governing body, it is quite literally a service industry. They are there to guarantee to everyone all over the world that if you pay $20, you will be thoroughly entertained for 2 to 3 hours. That is quite literally all Marvel fans are asking for, as they are not, despite what the media tells you, asking for only straight white men on screen, as any decent comic book fan and Marvel fan is asking purely for entertainment only. They don't care about color or gender, they just want entertaining and engaging movies. And that is exactly what Marvel provided for 10 years before their collapse in 2021, as they built up trust with their fan base that whenever they pay Marvel money, they are guaranteed to be entertained. And so the reason I think this is important to point out right now is because it shows Marvel how they can achieve their moralistic goals while still pleasing their audience. Because Marvel have said they want to promote ideas of diversity and promote ideas of people coming together despite their differences, but they stopped entertaining in the process. And so now that they are back to entertaining, even with a diverse cast, there is all of a sudden no more bigoted fans. And so what that tells you was that the fans were never bigoted, and that the reason those movies had terrible reviews was because they just weren't entertaining. And so what that goes to show is that by simply making entertaining movies, you end up bringing people together despite their differences of opinion or background. Which is where I do have to commend Marvel here, because finally they seem to remember why Marvel was able to bring people together for all those years before 2021, which was the family feel that the MCU had. From the Spider-Man cast feeling like one big family, to the point where they are literally becoming one now.
Zendaya and Tom Holland are confirmed to be engaged by TMZ after Zendaya also made her appearance at the 2025 Golden Globes with an engagement ring. You can also see she was showing off her ring at the event to her friends congratulating her.
To the Avengers all playing equally important roles and treating each other as a family. As the women weren't above the men, and the men weren't above the women, they were simply all in it together. Which is why I'm so happy to hear Susan Storm literally say in the trailer that we will face everything as a family, as finally Marvel are bringing people together again on screen, and promoting the idea of teamwork, and not everyone fighting for power, but rather everyone just doing their bit. As I'm all for promoting ideals of equality, justice, and treating everyone fairly despite difference, but I'm sorry, a woman explaining to a guy who was literally abused as a child that he doesn't understand anger because he's a man is quite literally insane.
Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. when I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or I might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And it was moments like that that pushed away so many Marvel fans, because a scene like that just felt out of place and also made no sense to the story. Because as I said, she's telling a character who was abused as a young boy that he doesn't understand anger. And so while she might have been able to say that to other men, she couldn't say that to Hulk. It made no sense, and it just made fans feel like the shows and movies were all about attacking people, or were all about putting ideology first, as opposed to putting entertainment first, which is where I do think Quentin Tarantino said it best by saying this.
And I don't have to even agree with you. Oh, but that's an interesting point.
Right.
That's an interesting point. But, there has become a thing that's gone on, it seems like in this, especially this last year, where, what's the word I'm looking at? Ideology is more important than art.
Way more, certainly to the awards.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like, ideology trumps art. Ideology trumps individual effort. Ideology trumps good. Ideology trumps entertaining.
There's two kinds of movies, virtue signalers and superhero movies. Mm-hmm. Are you bullish on the future of movies? Because...
Well, look, you have to always look at it.
Are we going to get back to that place?
Look, this happened, this comes in waves. This absolutely comes in waves, all right? So it's like... okay, just looking at the 40s, all right, that was during the wartime, but that's also the time that you had film noir, where you actually, even though with the Hays Code, you had these dark, dark stories that were being told. But then after the war was won, then you had the 50s, which was the first of the completely homogenized decades, where you couldn't say shit if you had a mouthful, all right? And every bestseller, every play that was turned into a movie, if there was anything sexual about it or anything, that's all going to be drained out of the movie. It's going to be weaned out of the movie. It's just the way it is. And then, to me, it's one of the worst decades in Hollywood is the 50s. And then the 60s, pretty much from like 1960 to 1966, was the 50s part 2. Right. But then what we think of as the 60s starts in about 67, and that's when New Hollywood
Bonnie
comes
and
out.
Clyde.
Yeah. And that's an absolute positive response to the homogenized 50s.
So it's going to come back again.
Okay, and then it goes into the 70s, but then we went into the 80s.
All right.
And that's why you came up with Politically Incorrect, because that was the first, this is basically 80s part 2, what we're living through right now.
Well, I'll just take one more go at it. There's going to be a new golden age. Please be there and part of it.
All right. But all in all, let me know your thoughts down below about the Fantastic Four trailer, and let me know your thoughts about the direction that Marvel seem to be going in now. And if you liked the